Chat Sports, welcome back. It's time for another New Orleans Pelicans video with your friend Carter the Power Bryant. Now, before we dive into these 5 burning questions heading into next year, but first, subscribe to Chat Sports on YouTube. You will never miss one of my Pelicans or Saints, NBA, NFL, cricket, any sport you can think of video. Chat Sports on YouTube. We're breaking it all down today. So, my first question is the question that everybody will be asking. What will Zion Williamson do in year 1 with the New Orleans Pelicans? Nonstop. That's what we've been wondering. That's what the entire NBA world wants to know. And to me, whenever we saw Zion Williamson's first action with the Pelicans, we saw him get 11 points, 3 rebounds, a block in about 9 minutes of action. We saw him have that thunderous dunk whenever he just ripped the ball out of Kevin Knox's hands of the New York Knicks and slammed that puppy home. He looked pretty impressive. Obviously, his shot needs a lot of work. There's so many different parts of his game that needs a lot of work. But at the very least, we know he is going to be a productive NBA rookie. Now, what's interesting was I was asked this question on a radio appearance, WWL in New Orleans, and they asked me to give out some projections as far as statistics for Zion Williamson's first season as a Pelican. And I said it's going to be about 15 points, probably 7 or 8 rebounds, a block shot, and 2 or 3 assists per game. What's fascinating is that the last 3 NBA Rookies of the Year were Malcolm Brogdon of the Milwaukee Bucks, Ben Simmons of the Philadelphia 76ers, and last year, Luka Doncic. So, I decided to average their 3 statistical seasons together, and their final line was near identical to Zion Williamson's projections. They averaged 15.7 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 6.1 assists per game, and all of them had less than a block per game. I see Zion having at least 1.5 to 2 blocks per game because that is a huge portion of who he is as a basketball player. So, Zion Williamson in his first year, some people are projecting an NBA All-Star. We'll get to that a little bit later in this video. But for me, I don't see him being one of those types of players. I don't think many NBA legends have been All-Stars as rookies. Luka Doncic wasn't an All-Star as a rookie. Ben Simmons wasn't either. Go all the way back to LeBron James. He wasn't even an NBA All-Star as a rookie. So for me, I do think Zion Williamson has the potential, though, to be Rookie of the Year. He's going to be in the All-Star Rookie Challenge game. He's going to participate in many other events. He's going to be a huge marketing star. He's going to have a SportsCenter top 10 dunks. However, I don't think in this current NBA that he will be the NBA Rookie of the Year. I think that will go to number 2 overall pick Ja Morant. It's a guards league. Ja Morant knows what position he's going to play, and he's going to be on a really bad team next year. The Pelicans, on the other hand, they have a pretty loaded roster when it comes to young talent, experienced players. They have a very experienced coach, and they're going to be in a very competitive Western Conference. The Grizzlies are also in that Western Conference, but their team is bad. A lot like Trae Young was for the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young would have been a Rookie of the Year pretty much any other year. Trae Young was able to put up big stats on a bad team. So, I think the same thing will hold true for Ja Morant. I think he will be the Rookie of the Year, but Zion Williamson will be in a close second or third place finish there. So, no for Zion Williamson on the Rookie of the Year for me, but I want to ask you guys that question. Yes or no in the comment section below. Will Zion Williamson be the NBA Rookie of the Year? Just type Y for yes, N for no. And if you want, let me know why or why not, or who you think will be the NBA Rookie of the Year. On to question number 2. How will the Pelicans starting lineup shape up next season? So, for me, I've seen different projections for how the how this Pelicans roster is going to set up. And the most popular projection that I've seen has been Jrue Holiday at the point guard, JJ Redick at the shooting guard, Brandon Ingram as a starting small forward, Zion Williamson taking over that starting power forward role, and Jahlil Okafor as a starting center, coming back after a pretty good season for the Pels last year. I don't think the starting lineup will actually shape up like that, in large part due to confidence and also scoring off the bench. That's a big thing in the NBA. This, to me, is the more likable starting lineup next year for the Pelicans. Lonzo will actually start at point guard, and Jrue Holiday will be the starting shooting guard, then Brandon Ingram at small forward, then Zion Williamson at power forward, and then Jahlil Okafor as the starting center. But looking at that second unit for the Pelicans, I think it's going to be one of those situations where if Lonzo or Jrue gets tired, whichever one gets tired first, they'll get subbed out, and either one of them will play the point guard position, and JJ Redick will be the first player off the bench. Obviously, the shooting guard would be instant offense for that second unit. The Pelicans would desperately need that with that second unit coming off the bench. Obviously, Josh Hart will be in the mix coming in for a shooting guard role. So that's how I think the rotation will actually start next season. Plus, giving Lonzo Ball that starting point guard position will do wonders for his confidence. We know JJ Redick will do any role for any team. I don't think JJ Redick's ego will get hit by coming off the bench. He's made his money. He's had a great career. Lonzo, on the other hand, this obviously wasn't the most favorable move. He wanted things to work out in LA. He had a lot of LA ties. Start him at point guard. It would do wonders for him as a player. Obviously, Darius Miller is back with the Pelicans. He will be a part of that second unit behind Brandon Ingram at small forward. Cheick Diallo is going to be an interesting player for the Pels moving forward, considering whenever he had his opportunity to play when Anthony Davis was around, Cheick was able to shine. Two players that really has looked great in the Summer League will also get some playing time for the Pels. Frank Jaxson, the second-year player out of Duke, and Kenrich Williams is a guy that I like a lot. He played really well last year for the Pelicans. He's a good defender. He can hit the outside shot, and he's also good on the boards. And then you have the two other Pelicans rookies that have looked amazing. Not good, not great, amazing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who has lit up the Summer League, and actually the story of the Summer League for the NBA diehards and the highlight junkies out there has been Jaxson Hayes with the nastiest, most ferocious dunk you will ever see in the Summer League. So we'll talk about those two a little bit later in the video. Now, I want to ask you guys a simple question. Why haven't you subscribed to Chat Sports yet on YouTube? Smash that subscribe button. Let's join this community together and let's chat NBA. You guys love to make vicious comments about my appearance. I've gotten everything. I love it. I really do. I remember a few years ago, someone called me a fat Bruno Mars. I love it. Comment below, subscribe. Let's hang out. Pelicans fans, NBA fans, and all the like. Will the Pelicans make the NBA playoffs? That's question number 3 on today's video. And I want to roll through this pretty simply because this is a simple process of elimination exercise here. So there's 8 slots in the Western Conference. There's 8 slots in the Eastern Conference. The Pelicans are in the Western Conference. Let's start with 3 teams that we know will make the NBA playoffs next year. The Los Angeles Lakers, obviously with the healthy LeBron, with the healthy Anthony Davis, Danny Green coming over, Kyle Kuzma not making it last year. It's hard to believe a scenario with LeBron James being healthy that the Lakers do not make the playoffs. They are a lock, as are the Vegas favorites to win it all, the Los Angeles Clippers, and then, of course, the Golden State Warriors with Steph and Draymond will definitely be in the playoff picture. Those are three locks that we can say we know with 100% certainty that they will make the playoffs next year. So those are 3 of the 8. Let's go to the next 3, that next tier of teams, the Utah Jazz. Picking up Mike Conley. They're so great defensively. They have a wonderful home court. The Jazz will be in the playoffs next year, as will the Denver Nuggets. Some people think the Nuggets are going to take a step back after they surprise the NBA. Here's the problem. The Nuggets have such a huge home court advantage with the altitude and their great fan base. They were the best team at home last year in the NBA. I think they'll get even better on the road. Nikola Jokic, they're going to be there again. And then some people are projecting a Rockets drop-off. I can totally see the Rockets tanking next year. The West has gotten more competitive. Tensions are in that locker room. The Rockets are even unsure of their own future. But as of right now, if you have James Harden on your team, you're going to make the playoffs. So those are 6 of the 8 slots. Slot number 7 will likely go to the Blazers, another team that some are projecting will have a drop-off. I think that they will. They were the 3 seed last year. I see them as the 7 seed next year. Once again, a great home court, great guards, a deep roster, but not an overly talented roster. But I see Dame, CJ, and Terry Stotts back in the playoffs for slot number 7. So, the Pelicans would be competing for that number 8 slot with 3 teams. I think the Kings will be better. I know it sounds crazy, but the Kings are going to surprise some people with De'Aaron Fox. I don't see them making the playoffs, but I do see them increasing their win total. The Dallas Mavericks have been really quiet this offseason, but they do have Kristaps Porzingis. His health is still up in the air, but he will be around at some point. Luka Doncic. Some people are calling him the next great thing in the NBA. What will Luka Doncic do in year number 2? And then, to me, that 8 slot goes to the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not betting against Pop right now. LaMarcus Aldridge will be back, as will DeMar DeRozan. This is a 50-win team every year in the NBA. I think the Spurs will get that number 8 slot. But here's a big kicker. The NBA is full of a bunch of old players in the Western Conference. The Pelicans, to me, are not only younger, not only fresher and more energized, they're also deeper. And they're going to play super hard in the regular season while other teams won't play as hard in the regular season, especially after last year with all the load management. That's only going to go up. The Pelicans are a new team. I don't see them doing a bunch of load management games. They were a 33-49 team last year. The 8-seeded Clippers were 48-34. I don't see a huge turnaround. 14, 15 wins? I don't see that, but I do think the Pelicans will be above 500, and I could also see a lot of injuries happening and the Pelicans sinking into that number 8 seed. So my question for you, Chat Sports, do you think the Pelicans will make the playoffs next year? Type Y for yes, type N for no in the comments. Let us know. Moving on to question number 4. This is actually the question that I'm most excited about. What should we expect? Not from Zion Williamson, but Jaxson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Those two were not good, not great, but incredible in the NBA Summer League. Jaxson Hayes protected the paint. As great as that dunk was, he had multiple dunks, and he also had multiple block shots. He is an incredible athlete. He's going to have an open floor to work with in the NBA. He doesn't have to play that prehistoric style that Texas plays at the collegiate level. Jaxson Hayes is going to be a big-time player in the NBA. Kind of like the way a Tyson Chandler or a Clint Capella has been over the past few years, or Steven Adams, a really good center who can do a lot of different things well. And for me, trading back to that number 8 overall slot looks like the right move, because not only has Jaxson Hayes looked great, but Alexander Walker, wow, he has done a little bit of everything. Like, you look at the last 2 Summer League games the Pelicans have played, they destroyed the Cleveland Cavaliers 99-78. Alexander Walker, 26 points and 6 assists. Against the Bulls in the game prior, Nickeil Alexander Walker, 8 assists, including the big pass to Jaxson Hayes for the emphatic dunk. So, for me, these two look incredible. And I think the Pelicans have found something in David Griffin, Trajan Langdon, and everybody that was a big part of the draft process, because these two look like legit NBA players. Yes, it's the Summer League. I know that's what everyone's going to say. But if you actually sit down and watch those games, you can see that those two players looked amazing. So, yeah, they're developmental pieces. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because they have a lot of experienced, talented players ahead of him. Jaxson Hayes has Favors ahead of him. He has Jahlil Okafor ahead of him. Alexander Walker obviously has a deep roster of guards in front of him as well. I do think they're good enough to get good playing time early on. I want to connect with you on social media. I am at Carter the Power, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, farmersonly.com. You can find me at Carter the Power. All things Pelicans, all things sports, comedy, everything at Carter the Power. I want to end on kind of a weird question. Now that Anthony Davis is gone, he was a 6-time All-Star in his 7 years with the Pelicans. My question for you is, will the Pelicans have an NBA All-Star next season? Yes, and his name is not Zion. There we go. Oh, look at that. I'm rocking a JRUE Holiday. He wears normally the white, and it's like a tennis headband, but he ties it in the back and everything. I do think JRUE Holiday will make an NBA All-Star appearance this year, even in the brutal Western Conference. Listen, let's start with Holiday himself. Keep this in mind. This is a really low-key stat line that JRUE Holiday finished with last year. 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. And he still didn't make any All-NBA All-Star team because the Western Conference is loaded with great guards. Absolutely loaded. Year after year, people say, oh, it's impossible to make the All-Star game in the Western Conference. You can't do it. Well, it's time to reel that back. Let's take a look at the Western Conference. Kevin Durant no longer in the West. He goes over to the East. But Kawhi Leonard goes from the East to the West, so he'll take that one All-Star slot. But there are 2 guards who will not be in the Western Conference All-Star game. Klay Thompson, who's a lock every year, won't be there, obviously recovering from his injury last year in the NBA Finals. And Russell Westbrook, you heard it here first. I think that Miami deal is going to happen. Even if it doesn't, I could see Russell just sitting out. I really can. He doesn't want to be with the Thunder anymore. I do think Russell will go to the East, which means there are 2 All-Star guard slots that are going to be open. One of those will go to Luka Doncic. I think Luka will be a second-team All-NBA performer. I think he's that good. But that final slot will go to none other than JRUE Holiday. Listen, this is a guy that actually played better when Anthony Davis wasn't on the floor. Now, obviously, there's analytics that support that. There's analytics that doesn't support that. But for me, he looked better in a more open court with the ability to toss the ball out to shooters. And guess what? The Pelicans have more shooters this year. The Pelicans have players that will play off of Jrue Holiday a little bit more than Holiday perhaps playing off of Anthony Davis. And even David Griffin himself said that Jrue Holiday has MVP potential. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but remember, Holiday's been an all-star in the past. I think NBA fans have become smarter, understanding the value of playing both sides of the ball and both sides of the court. Jrue Holiday is the best defensive point guard in the Western Conference, not named Patrick Beverley. He's that good. And with that, I think Jrue Holiday will be an NBA All-Star. Boom! Chat Sports, we've had fun. I want you to subscribe to Chat Sports now. Check out all the videos. Hannah kills it with those Lakers videos. Jimmy with the Mavericks videos. Check it out. You don't want to miss it. Chat Sports on YouTube. Carter the Power is out. I just referred to myself in third person, which is really sad, but please forgive me. See ya!